What's good, y'all? Here live again. I want to tap in with y'all, man, to just kind of discuss or go over a topic, man. It's something that I have been approached with a couple of times from different gentlemen, just kind of figuring out, what is it about men in particular? Like, why is it that we have to be under the guise of feminism? I know that is one of those topics where some men would say, they hate talking about. Some men don't believe it exists. Some men just believe that it's one of those things that's not necessarily something we should even give credence to. I'm one of those guys where I'm like, hey, I'm willing to talk about it if you are. I'm willing to explore it if you are. But first and foremost, I kind of want to dive into some videos that I have been looking up. Now, I know for a fact that TikTok is one of the most popular platforms out there now. I know I can research things on YouTube. I also know I can research things on any platform, but I'm gonna use TikTok right now in order to just look up the topic. Shoot, I forgot. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. Let's see. Give me a sec here, y'all. Yeah, what is masculinity? That's the topic I searched up, man. So let's take a look at it. First, let me go back and cut this background music off so we can listen to this without any interruptions. And we'll go back. We will go back. Okay. All right, let's listen to what the young lady has to say.
Here are 3 ways to be more masculine, and if you have these, then you're good to go. Before any of you say, why am I listening to a girl on how to be masculine, just know I'm right on these. First thing is cliche as fuck, but it's confidence and assertiveness. The thing is, confidence is associated with masculinity, and have you ever seen an insecure guy be called masculine? No, because it's always the confident, rich, good-looking guys that are called masculine. If you're insecure about yourself, immediately change that. Assertiveness, basically not being afraid to say no and having things your way. Second characteristic you need to have is responsibility. A man always takes ownership of his actions and his decisions. And a weak man always blames others for his actions and has that victim mentality. So an example of this is if you say you're going to be there at 8, be there at 8. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Because at the end of the day, you need to be reliable or else you're not a respected man. Last trait is having emotional strength. As a man, you need to have a strong mindset, so if you're the type of guy who gets offended easily or bothered by little comments, change that. A true man knows how to hold his emotions properly and will never break. Anyways, let me know if these are valid and what else I should make.
Listen, I'm gonna say I don't necessarily disagree with her, but I don't fully agree. Right? I know for a fact that when it comes down to being a man, a lot of men will listen to what that lady just said and be like, if she don't shut that blankety blank up, right? So it's it can be cool, right, to bring up topics like this and just kind of throw out some things. But let's address some of the things she said. Right? She said being a man means that you're confident. Now, I will say that a confident person is somebody who gives off the thread that they have it together or mentally that they're strong. And I would not necessarily put everything into manhood, into confidence. I met a lot of confident fools. I've met a lot of dudes who are confident, but yet, and let's just say they're not so wise. They're confident in their stupidity too. So I've always looked at it and said, when it comes down to confidence or when it comes down to a man being a man, these things are it's funny because everybody got something to say. Everybody got something to say as far as like what a man is and what a man isn't. But nobody could ever necessarily come up with the full definition because I believe it comes from a flawed place. I honestly believe it comes from a place that people are like, in a sense, judging one another or putting each other in these boxes because it's easy to do. Like, it's easy for me to say what I believe a woman is, but that's based upon my limited experience at that point. And because I'm so limited in my experience and because I don't necessarily know everything when it comes down to a woman or what she is or what she isn't, then I'm forever in a day gonna probably get that wrong. But let me go back over here and let's look at the comments. Some of the gentlemen in the comments are saying, notice how rich was sneaked in there, right? And I will say this, right? So the conversation of money when it comes to men, when it comes to dating, when it comes to relationships. I'm not trying to say it's not important. I'm not trying to say that men shouldn't have money. What I'm trying to say here is that when it comes down to the focus of your relationship being money, then I know for a fact you've lost out, because there's a lot of gentlemen out here who are very good men, and they have yet to reach their financial potential, have yet to understand everything there is about finances. But if you are talking to men and trying to get men to buy into the factor of financial impact, then also understand that you as a lady are telling that man to buy into the very patriarchy that you may not want him to buy into 100%. It's like we can't have our cake and eat it too. Like if that man is going to buy into full patriarchal systems or full what's the word we're looking for here? Capitalistic systems, then that man may not be as free as you would think. He may not have the money to provide you the lifestyle that you may believe you want. And what I mean by that is not just the material things. That man may not be as free as you think. Like his time may be limited based upon the fact that when you make a lot of money, right? Especially as a gentleman, when you start making a lot of money, one of the things that happens is your time becomes very limited. So yeah. But either way, it's like the gentleman in the comments are like, if you're insecure, just stop being insecure. Oh, wow. So I put it like this. There's going to be some form or fashion of men out here who believe wholeheartedly that they have nothing that they do wrong. They're going to believe that, everything within their right of manhood is somehow, a benefit, right, to women, right? Like women should be also inclined to listen to those men and also inclined to take something from them in the sense of, hey, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Just follow me. My challenge is to the gentleman in particular. Do you necessarily know exactly what it takes to be a man? And I know that is one of those tough questions where it's like, yeah, sure I do. But that's where the false bravado sometimes come in, right? If you're a man, if you're a real man, then you will stand up and say, listen, I'm learning as I go. And I'm not just trying to say that as the man who is pretty much telling you what to do, but I'm saying that as a gentleman who is learning as he goes. I'm saying that as a gentleman who's constantly in a place of learn, constantly in a place of understanding, because not only am I a man, but I'm also the type of gentleman where I have to be aware of the people that I impact. I have to be aware of the type of people that I am entertaining as well. Right? So I'm going to jump back into another video, and it's like, I think somehow it could be taken different because she's not, excuse me, it's not a man speaking it. But let's go into it, and I want y'all to hear it for yourself. First, let me tap my music off, and I want y'all to hear it for yourself. Give me a second here. Do 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 do. All right, let's go.
How do you know he's really masculine? He scares the fuck out of you. How do you know he's not going to hurt you? He has a system of values that he upholds, and you see his behavior.
A man that is able to hurt you deeply, but still chooses not to. And that is what makes him inherently powerful.
And that's also what makes him respectable. So the man that can hurt you and chooses to protect you is the man that is truly capable to defend you from the other men, because he is that capable.
Yes, and this even goes back to morality, is if you're able to do something but you choose not to, is what actually makes you moral, as opposed to if you are unable to do something and that is why you don't do it, then does that really make you moral? You're just weak. Exactly.
How do you
I think there's some very good points in there, but I also think it misses a boat. And what I mean by that is there has to be some type of understanding that when it comes to being a man in general, the first thing is the bout with masculinity, in the sense of what makes you strong, what makes you tough as a man. And if I could do this to you, then I would da 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 da. Right? There's a lot of gentlemen out here right now that I could say wholeheartedly are not. They're tough, but they're not necessarily capable of those things knowingly, right? So there's a lot of gentlemen who are capable of doing a lot. Okay, there's a lot of men who are capable of being great, but to talk about the factor of a morality of a man, if you think about it, God Himself knows for a fact what He can do, but He centers himself around the factor of having a great mediator, which is Jesus Christ, right? So does that mean God himself is the type of man that knows he can hurt you, but he won't? Or does that mean that God has sense enough to have a great mediator? That could both be one and the same, right? And I'm doing this live, so don't think I've had time to think about this or anything, because I haven't. That could be one and the same. It could be something that, a gentleman comes about and says, you know what, I'm the type of guy where I know for a fact I could hurt this woman. I know for a fact I could do this, but I'm choosing not to. I know that I could swing this, but I'm choosing not to. Is that really a man, or is that somebody who, who just constantly flirts with the idea of hurting other people? I mean, let's be honest here. I don't want to flirt with the idea of hurting a woman, right? That doesn't even cross my mind. I don't have the ability in me anymore, especially now I've matured, to want to hurt anybody else. I've hurt a lot of people in my past. And one thing I learned about life being short is that because it's so short, there's never anything in this world worth you downing another person or putting another person through hell based upon the fact that you can, or based upon the fact you constantly teeter on whether you can send that person straight through hell or not. There's either an A, you are being 100% honest with yourself and that person, or B, you're not being honest with yourself and that person, right? Like, everybody does have a nature. Everybody has a nature. Everybody has a nature. What I'm struggling with, though, is the fact that everybody has this nature that everybody's fighting against. And my understanding is, in order to be your full self, and in order to be fully who you are, you have to kind of die to the nature that you are. So the reason I'm touching on these topics is because of feminism in itself, right? I believe that these things, like what a man is and the misunderstanding, and it's just 2 videos, but just, the misunderstanding or the constant opinion of what a man is, has driven us all into a frenzy that most men don't ever really know exactly who the heck they are or what they're supposed to be doing. So it just causes most men to kind of detach themselves from the whole misnomer of what men are. And it also causes men to answer to the call of what society says they should be. So there's a lot of people out here who are, playing the role of man, playing the role of husband, playing the role, but they don't necessarily know who they are. They don't necessarily know what to do. And they also don't necessarily know how to, get with society in the sense of what it is right now. I bear witness to the fact that, my son right now, he's a very young man, right? He's a very, very young man, but he is also one of those gentlemen that I hope and believe, and I pray that he will grow to not just say, how can I be a man? But he wants to understand, how can he be the best person that he's supposed to be? Understanding that he, yes, is a man, but he looks to be the best person all around, versus fitting a mantra based upon his masculinity. Like, some people make their masculinity and femininity a personality, versus understanding your masculinity and femininity as a nature. But it's also something that's mixed into both of us. It's not something that I hold alone, Hold on, how many? I'm going to look this up scientifically. Because it seems to be a misunderstanding as to what makes gentlemen and women and so on and so forth, based upon the fact of, like, all right, let's look at it. So here it says, what makes a man a man? What makes a man biologically? X and Y chromosomes, right? There's a balance between the two, right? So we could say the same thing. What makes a woman? A woman? Nope. I want to go biologically. XX chromosome, right? So when it comes down to the scientific aspects of chromosomes, and it comes down to DNA, it comes down to these things, I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm some type of expert, but I will say that what makes a man and what makes a woman are their chromosomes, obviously, but at the same time, you see men have X and Y, women have X and X. Why do men have X and Y chromosomes? Let's look that up. Why do men have X, Y? Let's go chromosome. And for you who are listening to this and didn't watch it live, I'm messing around. Nah, I'm sorry. Males have X due to the following. In humans, females inherit an X chromosome from each parent, while males inherit an X chromosome from their mother and a Y chromosome from their father. The presence of the Y chromosome triggers male development. The X and Y chromosomes evolve from a pair of identical autosomes. I want to make sure I say autosome. During meiosis, the male X and Y sex chromosome pair separates, resulting in half of the gametes. No, it's not mites, it's gametes, containing an X chromosome, and the other half containing a Y chromosome. X links genetic disorder, or more common males due to the XY pattern. Now, let me look up women. And I know this is boring stuff, but you never know anything until you read for yourself, right? Females have 2 X chromosomes, and all female cells normally carry an X. Women inherit an X chromosome from each parent, so they have XX. During meiosis, the male XY sex chromosome pair separates and passes on an X or a Y to separate gametes. The result is that one half of the gametes, sperm, that are formed contains X chromosome, and the other half contains the Y chromosome. The human Y chromosome plays a key role in determining the sex of a developing embryo. XX embryos don't have SRY, so they develop as female, meaning women are imbalanced. No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that there is a constant share of the X and Y. We don't have nobody's better than the other, right? So the perfect balance is the fact that, every male carries the X, every woman carries an X, every male carries a Y. Every male carries an X as well, meaning that you get your life from your mother majority of the time, although you start off with a male, right? You need the two in order to determine exactly what you are and what you will turn into, right? Male or female. I know we argue over these things and I identify as or whatever the case may be, but biologically speaking, not me trying to alter facts or anything like that, that is just what it says. Now, I don't know for sure why it is that we have a hard time accepting that. I don't understand the confusion about that. I will say this though. If there's one thing I've understood 100% is that we just have to accept and love people as they are. If a person tells me to call them a tree, I'll call you a tree. It doesn't necessarily mean I have to believe that, but I will respect you and love you as you want to be called and respected and loved upon. It just doesn't mean that I have to go around not believing in the science that is right here in our faces, or believing in the genitalia that is also right here in our faces, right? So for me, as a gentleman, I don't know where I get off being more feminine or more masculine. All I know is that I have a balance of both chromosomes in order to dictate what I became in just the general sense of biology. So, am I so far from my nature as a gentleman, right, that I have given into the cause or the breakdown of the man? I would have to say yes. And I'm saying this personally. I've given into the breakdown of the man by, at some point in my life, I tried to answer to the call of the women in society. I tried to answer to what it is that ladies wanted you to do, versus understanding that I have a balance of both. And it's okay for me to learn from both sides in order to create, quote unquote, the perfect, the even keel, the down the middle, or being able to sway from left to right. Meaning it's okay to show emotion. I'll just go to the basic one. It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to show the quote unquote softer side, right? My daughter brings out my softer side for sure. Okay. A lot of people like say, oh, she got you wrapped around her finger. No, it's my daughter. This is my daughter who, I did the Humpty Dumpty in order to have. And so I'm going to give her the love that she deserves. But the thing is, my daughter is a natural feminine. So who am I to come in and where I've already given her what is necessary for her to become feminine? Who am I then to get her on this outside world and try to impact her with masculine traits or being masculine? I should then just turn my daughter into what I want. No, I should allow my daughter to be who she is and showing her the balance of the masculine and her feminine so that she can always understand why the balance is between the two, what she needs to do to balance between the two. The same goes with my son. The balance is important. But the question is still on the table of what the heck and why is feminism so popular? And the reason I believe it's popular, I'm going to share that with you guys in a minute, of why I believe it's popular. I'm going to share that with y'all of why I believe it's popular. Excuse me. Because I know deep down inside, there's a lot of us who share the claim or try to understand what it is or what it's doing, and we have no idea. Okay? So this is what it says about feminism. Okay? The advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes. The inclusion of all these women in modern art history textbooks shows the impact feminism have had on the field. Now, why would women have to be included in a place where they were already born women? Why would they have to do that? I would have to say that is because there's a lot of women right now who feel displaced and who feel dishonored based upon the fact that they have not even been recognized from their birth to be exactly what they are. And what that causes by gentlemen is the misunderstanding or the lack of empathy based upon the fact that, sir, should we go back and look up X and Y chromosomes to understand that you are an X and a Y, and part of you comes from the woman. The woman is the one that's the XX, so she's all woman, right? You are part of both. Her learning of masculinity or her learning of that balance comes from you. And if you do anything to, abuse that within a woman, then you're just setting her up for failure. Now, I, for a fact, as a gentleman, are not necessarily understanding of why so many people feel the need to bash men, bash women, hurt people, do things that don't necessarily cause anybody to grow, instead of taking the opportunity and taking the time to just say, hey, I know for a fact you're a woman, I know for a fact I'm a man, but can we just get to understand each other? Because let's not forget, there comes a point in everybody's life when we all grow up in different environments and we all grow up doing different things. So a lot of ladies out here are becoming very much so unattracted to men, and men are becoming unattracted to women because we've turned our back on one another. We have not given each other the opportunity or the chance to be exactly what we have been called to be, or necessarily be exactly what we're supposed to be. And I find that in itself extremely disgusting, because there's so many people who could benefit from understanding what a man and a woman is on the basis level, taking it down to the very low level of understanding that X and Y chromosomes, X and X chromosomes, that's what make us up. That's what chooses us to be what we are. And if we don't respect each other from that stance, then at some point we lose, right? We just lose. So because of that, because we lose ourselves at that very end, and because we lose ourselves at that very bottom, then we end up not necessarily being the best selves or being our best selves to one another, like men and women, right? We don't end up being our best selves to each other. And I think we don't end up doing that is because so many of us are so used to recognizing people by a color of skin, by the understanding of what we believe a man or woman is, by our experiences of the past. And what we do is now put everybody in the same box. And because we put everybody in the same box, the only thing we end up with is nothingness, man. We end up with nothingness, and we end up basically fighting each other and fighting an uphill battle. All we have to do wholeheartedly, man, is just love one another for the basis of what we are. But it does come with understanding. So I do believe that a lot of us perish and a lot of us pass away based upon the factor of lack of knowledge. Like if you really understood, you know, everything about your family, if you understood everything about your family history in a nutshell, would you do some of the things that you do? Probably not. If you understood everything you needed to know about, not just your family history, but if you understood everything you needed to know about, let's see, the spiritual side of your family, you definitely wouldn't be doing the same things that you know that they did in order to cause them to go down certain lines or make certain mistakes. I know for a fact that there's a lot of people out here right now who have this ability to really go into and delve into their deeper self and understand what I'm talking about right now. And understand that the separation of male and female has to stop somewhere, and we have to do this thing, right? That same thing that goes on in the X and Y chromosome, the meiosis aspect of it, right? Same thing that goes into our biological makeup. We have to be able to come together in order to figure out what we are together. There's a reason why there's a balance. And if we don't teach each other the balance of the other side, or if we don't help each other be balanced, then yeah, we're going to continue to have this battle between male and female. It shouldn't be no battle. You know, like I've never had to feel like I want to compete with anybody. Honestly, I compete with myself. Obviously, I've been in competitive situations as far as football and things of that nature, playing basketball and stuff like that. But I've never felt the need to necessarily compete with a lady or compete with a man in the sense of who's the better person, how to be better. If you get to that point, that's just, you know, lack of self-esteem. Number one, lack of self-esteem. But it's number two, the lack of self-awareness, right? To understand that you are valuable, not even based upon the factor of what some other man or some woman thinks of you, right? You're valuable, man. You are valuable regardless. So a lot of us lack the capacity of understanding that. I too, at one point in my life, was like that. You know, I lacked that capacity. I wish for the life of me that there was somebody in my life who caught me at a time when I was pondering these very subjects a long time ago and would have told me, hey, look, you're going to talk about this sometime in your life. Because at that time, I used to always wonder, why is it that so many men and women just fight over the factor of being men and women? I like women. Like, I like women. why I want to fight them when I could be kissing on them and loving them, right? Why I want to fight them if I could be with them? Then I start to realize that the reason there's such a fight and the reason there's such an angst amongst us is because there's just a lack of understanding. If I gave you the understanding of your X and Y chromosomes and understood you from the biology from which you stand and understand you and respected you from birth, just for the fact that you was born the way you are, if I respect that, then I grow to understand who influenced you as you grew. If I can grow to understand you, who influenced you as you grew, then I also can understand then how your entire makeup is. Because the last thing I want to do as a gentleman, right, is misunderstand your entire makeup. That's the last thing I want to do. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in, but I'm gonna leave you guys with this. Try to understand people from the basis of which they are. Don't necessarily just understand people from the basis of which you think they should be. Don't put people in a box. And also don't put yourself in a box. You're more than just what your X and Y chromosomes say, obviously, because you have a whole life full of experiences. So don't forget that the next time you meet somebody. And the reason I believe that feminism was created is because there are so many people who have lost the ability to be able, especially gentlemen. I'm going to put the onus on us guys. We have lost the ability to be able to understand what a woman is from birth, just as well as she's lost that understanding. And so as a gentleman, it's up to us to lead, and it's up to us to teach and guide based upon that fact alone. What are you from birth? What is she from birth? Teach from that, teach balance, and always lead with love, no matter if in opposition, if it's not that. Always tell the truth and always be your best self. Peace out.